We are the Animal Days, which is a dog walking and pet care company. I started this as originally as a pet sitter. So I came back from traveling, took a bit of time in Australia, and I came back and I knew I needed to get a job, but I also wanted to do something with animals on the side because I'd always loved animals, specifically horses and dogs. So I started pet sitting for a few people. And then that basically just kind of snowballed really from there. And that was back in 2018, 2019. I progressed then from the pet sitting. Actually, I started doing a lot of dog behavior work because I've always naturally been very good with dogs. So I took an online course, and then I started all the pet sits that I were looking after. They were like, how are you doing that with my dog? And how are you doing this with my dog? So I then started giving them advice on the dog behavior side of things. And then from the dog behavior side of things came, oh, well, actually, it'd actually really benefit us if you could work with our dog once or twice a week, if you could take them out, blah, 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 blah. So then I started doing a little bit of dog walking. And obviously COVID hit. So obviously March 2020, I just started the pet sitting before that. Obviously there wasn't much pet sitting during COVID. But I was still helping people with the dog behavior stuff. And because people still needed help, obviously we might have all been locked up indoors, but people were still, and even more so, they were struggling with their dogs because they were confined to this space with their dogs and they couldn't go anywhere or do anything. So we did a lot of work outside. And then, so the Animal Days kind of grew when I knew that COVID hit, because I was going to bugger off and go to New Zealand, because I'd been to Oz. I was going to go to New Zealand. Obviously COVID hit. So I then sat down and thought, okay, well, let's try and turn this into some sort of business. And then the Animal Days was born from that, which was always a kind of behaviour, but, we'll look after your dog as well. We'll do a bit of everything. So then, fast forward, obviously, from 2021, the dog walks had grown massively. Also, obviously, people had asked me to look after their dogs when they went away on holiday. And I was just so busy with that the behaviour side of it was kind of dropping off a little bit. So now where we are in September 2023, it is that we are predominantly, the Animal Days is a dog walking and pet care business. Oh God, I don't know the numbers. I think it's about 45 to 50 dogs a week.
Oh, wow. That's
that
a
we're
lot.
looking after, rotating on various different things. But yeah, so it all kind of started with a little idea of just pet sitting, and now we're here and doing a bit more than that.
Okay, so like when you say 40, 50 dogs, like are they regular customers or do you get like new ones as well, or is it a bit of a mix?
Yeah, so we have recurring customers. So we walk their dogs once a week, twice a week. Some dogs are 4 times a week as well. So it just depends. But yeah, we'll also have some ad hoc requests, and we get people that come and they just want random just daycare, or just that somebody else is looking after the dog, but they want somebody that's got a bit more of a doggy background to
Extra.
actually give this dog the type of walk a dog needs to have. Which is, a lot more freedom and a lot more running around and having fun. So, and obviously we get new customers coming in as a request, on a weekly basis, at least about 1 or 2 requests on a weekly basis, which is very nice.
Yeah.
But
Nice to see some new faces.
it is, yeah, and some new dogs. But I'm desperately trying to take on another person at the minute, and I have hopefully got somebody coming for a trial day next week. So fingers crossed, because again, we're getting at that point where we're at full capacity and can't do what we're doing between us.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And where are you guys based again?
Waterlooville is where I live, which is Hampshire. Don't know if you know near that, but it's basically just outskirts of Portsmouth. Yeah, so outskirts of Portsmouth, but we cover such a wide area between Chichester and Fareham.
So what would you say your biggest achievement has been as a business, like since you've been running, do you think?
I definitely would say when I employed I say employed because I'm still technically self-employed, so we're not limited yet. But and obviously when the girls come and work for me, they're freelance subcontractors. But I think probably my biggest was when I took on my first official dog walker. you know, because that was kind of like, oh, right, okay, I'm managing this now. And I'm, you know, managing the diary for somebody else and, you know, paying somebody else. So, yeah, it was a real big achievement. And I was so nervous about it as well. You know, that was the biggest part about it. I was so nervous about it. But now since then, we've just had even more people. So yeah, you know, it does feel like a good achievement because you are helping somebody else do something that they love and putting, you know, money in their pocket so they can do nice things with their money.
Yeah, definitely. And what would you say has been your like biggest struggle as a business, do you think?
So my biggest struggle has been, my biggest my biggest struggle has been like my vehicle situation.
Okay.
So I just, you know, when you just try and make a decision on something, and sorry, by the way, if you keep seeing me looking down, I've got a pup in the office, and
Oh, what
just
kind of
even,
puppy?
if I can show you, she's sorry, excuse the carpet,
Oh,
we
that's all
haven't yet.
right.
She's
Yeah.
a Australian Shepherd dog, and she's called Nora.
Oh, she's lovely. Oh, hello.
She's a
Oh,
year old,
bless.
she's getting up to tricks. But,
Oh,
but she's a lovely girl. But she was just coming and she was putting her head on my lap and she was trying to get under the desk, and I was just like, no, no, just leave
bless
her.
her.
Yeah, so because obviously, you know, you try and think, well, where's the business going? You're trying to plan for a future and you don't really, you know, you've got your idea and you can obviously have a business plan, but you know, so many things change along the way. And you know, if you look at other dog walkers, obviously, majority of them, if they're an established dog walking business, they'll have vans. You know, they've got vans and they're going around in vans. So I started off in my i30, which I love that car. Had it in my old job, obviously then started doing all the dog stuff, so it became a dog car, which was fine. And then I was like, but now I'm getting so busy at full capacity taking dogs on walks and stuff like that. I need something bigger. So I brought a Galaxy, I brought a Ford Galaxy that literally broke down within like 4 weeks. I lost a little bit of money on it, but got the majority back. And then went back to the car. Luckily, I hadn't sold that. And then I had a family friend that said, "I'll help you out if you want some help." So she lent me some money towards getting a van, so I didn't have to put such a big business bill
Yeah.
on the business. Um, I've had the van for 10 months, and just yesterday it got picked up by the scrap people because it's
Oh,
completely the engine's completely gone. So that's my biggest struggle has been just trying to, you know, obviously, because if you ain't got a vehicle, we can't, you know, I can't get around. If one of my girls' car goes
yeah.
up the creek, they can't do their job. So yeah, that's been the biggest struggle is trying to know what has been the right decision on that, whether it was cars or vans. Obviously now we've gone back to a car.
Yeah.
So and I will stick with cars. I do just think they're a lot easier.
Yeah.
Biggest struggle's just been knowing what's the right thing to do at the right time. And yeah, I've probably not made the right choices all the time, but you know,
Like
we're
a
still
learning curve. Yeah. I
uh,
guess it's stuff like that. Like you don't really think about that. The focus is the dogs. You kind of don't think about like the transport and stuff to go with it when you're first starting out, I suppose.
exactly.
Um,
Because you
but
just do
yeah,
it,
so
just do it in your car until you go, oh,
yeah,
I need to move forward. But you know, it just wasn't the right time for me to make that decision on that.
yeah.
But it is just what it is, unfortunately. I got really lucky, and I could have had that van for another 12 years. It was just
Yeah.
unfortunate that the van I brought, even though it weren't cheap, it just didn't want to do the job.
Yeah. You can never tell with like vehicles, can you? Can
Exactly.
tell
I'm
if the
not a
engine won't
mechanic, so I don't know. No.
This might be a tough question. So, like, who's been your favorite client or your favorite dog, or can you not choose?
It's hard because I mean, some dogs definitely have to have a special place in your heart.
Yeah.
They're just so easy, and you know, I've got like this little puppy. She's, God, I don't even know how old she is, like 10, 11 months. And most puppies like this one here are just, you know, up to tricks all the time trying to do stuff. But this puppy, we're just so in tune with each other. She's just so easy. Like comes out of her house, no lead on, I open my door, she jumps in the car. Sometimes she'll sit on the front seat or sometimes she'll be in the back. She doesn't do anything. She's just so good. She's just, you know, and you do have you do feel like you have a special connection sometimes with these dogs.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's hard because there's this, yeah, some dogs are very special to me, and I really do enjoy my time with them. Um, And likewise as well, some of the clients I've had, they've been in a way exceptional. They have gone beyond and above to help me be successful with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
It's
very
like a
good.
mutual support kind of thing, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing. So like what do you think is your favorite part about running your business? Is it the dogs? Is it the clients? Is it something else? What do you think is your favorite part?
So, oh, wait, yeah, I was thinking about this earlier. Because I didn't do business at uni. I did criminology and psychology, so something completely
Oh,
different.
wow.
And but never wanted to do anything to do with that. And I've got nobody in my family has ever done anything like what I'm doing now. So I love figuring it out. Like I love just figuring out how to work everything and what sort of shortcuts can we use for like the social media side of things, and like figuring out what CRM platforms to use. So I love that part of it, and I just love doing this. I can sit, to my partner's disgust probably, I can sit in this for a very long period of time and just beaver away at figuring out stuff. But I think actually what means the most to me would be when I get just like randomly, like the other day, I had a text through from one of the clients, and it wasn't even a day that we was picking up the dog or anything like that. But she just texted me up. Maybe she was drunk, I don't know. But she texted me and she just said, Jessie, I just want to thank you and Grace so much for looking after the boys and everything that you do for them, because they're just so happy when they're with you. And when you get things like that, or when I get people say, oh, thank you so much for all the behaviour stuff, like you've completely changed our lives and we can do things that we never thought we could do before. And you're not expecting to have that. Like I've not asked them to leave me a review or anything like
Yeah.
that. They've just sent that message and it's come through. For me, that's like a real, like, not showy offy moment, but it makes me feel
Wow.
very quietly proud. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's lovely to hear that you're kind of like making a difference and to see your hard work paying off and stuff like that. So
Exactly.
I think that's really cool. That's a good answer.
Thank you.
How do you keep your staff motivated, do you think? Or does everybody kind of just like self-motivate them? Or
I mean, obviously you've got to pay people a fair amount. So, I mean, I've got one of my girls is 18, she's on £10 an hour. Like she wouldn't be on that if she was in a normal job.
yeah,
I don't know what the living allowance or whatever is now, but yeah, yeah, it just comes down to, I think, not micromanaging people. I give them, just little bonuses for Easter or Christmas or something
yeah,
like that. But it's hard as well, because if we can't do a job, we don't have that money, and we're
yeah,
still looking at the point, to make sure that we've got constant streams flowing. And at the minute, if one stream was to stop, then that's obviously going to affect the income for that particular person, obviously for the business and for me. So, I just try and keep them motivated by it. We have an open, chatty relationship. I try and pay what I think would be fair for them to have for what they're doing. And I don't micromanage them. I'm like, right, there's your dogs. You sort out what you want to do, but I'm here if you need something. And I think then sometimes people that I want to work with the dogs are people that can think on their feet and they don't need to be micromanaged. So then I think that they respect that more, and because they can just go and do what they want to do, but they can do it safely. And I think that's just the motivation. I hope anyway.
Well,
That
I think
keeps.
that's good because I mean, it's like you said, you want people that can think on their feet. I mean, you can train people to walk dogs and stuff, but if they're on their own, they kind of have to be, on high alert all the time in case something
That's
happens.
it, yeah. And be able to deal with things that come up, and not be stressed about things. And I've been really lucky. We've had two girls, two 18-year-olds. They've sort of done a few months with me and then moved on, which is sad. But I've got Grace at the minute. She seems happy. She's on full time. I'm sadly losing my Portsmouth-based dog walker, because she was always going to go into digital marketing and copywriting. So she's ready to do that now. And like I said, that's why I'm trying to look for somebody else. And I've got my mum, who's great, So yeah, we're getting by.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds really nice. It's like a very tight knit, close team, especially with your mum and stuff. It must be nice to have a bit of family there as well.
It, yeah, she's great.
So like, do you have any plans for the future? Do you hope to expand? Do you have do you want to work in different areas or anything like that?
yeah, so I mean, I said to myself, what do I want out of this? And I think I naively or stupidly or over, I don't know, overconfidently was like, I want to own the biggest dog walking and pet care business in the UK. But like, I think, it's not, that's not, that's, if I don't get that, I'm not going to be upset. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I think we're doing really well as we are now. And, I'm always ready. I'm not ready, but if something went really, really wrong and I had to let it go, I would be devastated, but I would be prepared to do that.
yeah,
But if it all goes to plan, then yes, I'd like to expand. I'd like to have a good few dog walkers on, so maybe about six dog walkers at least, um, covering the area that we're already covering, but obviously making that easy for everybody. I have quite a few dogs around mine, but actually I'd like to, potentially look at having a unit or I say like a shop, but obviously then sometimes with shops you don't get like any back garden space. And so I say a unit because I might have more of an industrial, um, estate sort of thing where might have some outdoor space for the dogs to use to actually then have that as some sort of like doggy daycare as well. So rather than running it from mine, I can actually put the dogs in a place and have a member of staff there. So yeah, so all those little things are in there. And just as well to have the I've been faffing around with it quite a lot and I've made quite a few changes, but I'm actually going back to what I was originally doing. But to actually have the animal days as also like a one-stop shop for dog blog. So more information about dogs,
yeah,
places you can go, things that are going to save you money, tools that will help you. Because I kind of separated that from the business before because I was going to obviously just do that with the dog behaviour side of things.
yeah.
But it's just I have to admit defeat sometimes, and this is taking a lot of my energy and a lot of my time. So I've got to give it that instead of trying to balance both and then just not being able to fulfil one of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do hope to yeah expand. Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. Um, and so for example, like with your marketing and stuff like that, do you use technology and social media, or do you like flyer, or is it kind of like more word of mouth? How do you get like most of your business, do you think?
I think it's probably tipping a little bit more towards most of it will come through from a Google search
Hmm.
and will come up, and then the reviews obviously on that will then tend to sway people to get in touch. But then there's a good chunk of the business which is word of mouth as well. So just obviously because of dog, people talk to people in the park, don't they, when they
Yeah,
got dogs.
definitely.
So yeah, so that's always great. And yeah, we don't really fly or anything like that. I do give out obviously cards and stuff. And we do obviously have a social media presence, which is small, but again, I'm hoping to grow that. Um, and I'd say probably we're more prominent on Facebook than we are on Instagram. It's just
Mhm.
our market is more of the Facebook. It's more of the Facebook market. Um, so yeah, we get it from more online, I would say, probably
Yeah.
than we think. Yeah, physical.
Okay. And then so what advice would you give to somebody wanting to start their own business, like maybe a dog specific business, or maybe just a general, like a different business? Like, what would you say to
Yeah.
them?
So I think definitely the two things that I learned, which I practiced one of them, but I didn't really practice the other one, was that the first thing is don't quit do it. If you want to do it, because I think 100% you should always give these things a go. If it
Mhm.
doesn't work and it wasn't meant to be, then that's just not what you were supposed to be on. So that's fine. And that's what it is. But I think get yourself more prepared for the financial challenges that you're going to have with this. So I was told this, like, stay in your full-time job, but drag it out as long as possible as you can with your part-time so that you can bank up as much money from your full-time job to put into when you decide to go. And for me, that I didn't really do it like that. So I did drag it out for as long as I could, but I didn't really bank up as much as I could. There was probably still a few things I could have done with doing a bit more on. Um, but then also when you do start, um, you know, I think you think to yourself, oh, within 4 to 6 months, well, it depends what, you know, what level of business brain you've got. But if you're just somebody like me who's just got an idea and wants to roll with it, you kind of, you know, you get to 4 or 6 months and you go, oh, I've got no stability. I've not got a lot of clients. I've, you know, you're like, oh, you're clutching at straws and you think, oh God, what have I done? This was such a bad decision. But I was told by my physiotherapist who had done the same thing. He said, don't panic. He said, you need to give it a year. Like you need to just ride it out. It will be tough. You will have, you know, obviously if you've banked up your money and done that first bit right, then it ain't going to be so bad. If you haven't done that and you are literally struggling from month to month, then obviously that's going to be trickier. But it will find its feet if it's supposed to find its feet. And obviously, my finding its feet was actually I went from, you know, the behaviour side of things to actually doing pet care more, and obviously incorporating dog walking in that. And yeah, and then obviously that then gave me the stability because you've got reoccurring clients, you've got reoccurring income, and then now it's, you know, it's spiraling out of control. I'm just trying to
So,
spin it all. Yeah.
so like I guess like adapting when you need to adapt and like moving with what people need out of you and that kind of thing. That's a really
Yeah,
good
definitely.
answer.
You've got to adapt as well, 100%. You've got to be flexible. You've got to be open-minded. You know, you've just got to go with wherever the business is going. You've just got to go with it and see if that works out. Yeah, but yeah, bank some money up, give it a year, and go with the flow. In a nut-
Amazing.
yeah.
In a nutshell. um, and then so like, why do you think it's better to support small businesses rather than like bigger chains?
Because I just like you put so much effort in, put so much effort and hard work and late nights and tears and stress into it, and yeah, it's just you just yeah people we just need to help the small businesses. Obviously, I know we don't always do it, but you know, it's always if I can buy something from a smaller company rather than a big, you know, company, especially for something to do with like my hair or something like that. There's, you know, the Caribbean side of products isn't really prevalent in Tresemme, and you know, stuff like that. But there's a lot of smaller brands that are coming out because of Instagram and things like that, and you know they're actually creating these amazing fucking products that actually work properly. And you know, just yeah, okay, you might have to pay a little bit more than what you'd pay if you just pop down to Superdrug or Tesco's, but they've gone through so much to get that marketing and that design and to create the product and to do it. So you know, just supporting them is just, I don't know, I just think it makes the world a bit better actually.
Yeah, it's a bit more personal as well. Like, you know,
uh,
sometimes when you order something from a small business, they send like a handwritten thank you note and stuff like that. So that's a nice thing as well.
that I got one of those for something I brought, and I was like, oh, I really like that. I was like, I'm gonna
Dude.
remember that if I ever need to go down that route. Yeah.
Yeah, you should like start doing that yourself. It would be really
Yeah,
good. Like
I
sign
did
from
it.
the
I
dogs
used
or
to send
something.
out leads and things like that when I used to sell a few dog leads and stuff before. I
Yeah.
created those little cards and put them in. But again, it was an idea, and it was a good idea, but it just wasn't the right time for that idea.
Yeah.
So I bank that and come back to it later.
Definitely. That's a really good idea, like for the future, definitely.
Yeah.
Um, so do you have like a pet peeve as a business owner, or like do you think there's any misconceptions about your kind of business that people get wrong at all? Or like maybe they think it's like, I don't know, reasonably easy to walk dogs when actually that's not what it's like at all, or
Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one. I think pet peeve. Uh, Oh, I don't know. I can't say that. I mean, like today, for example, I'm running late. Like today, I'm running late because some of my wonderful clients or some of my dogs have gone to like the neighbour because the person's on holiday, so they're with the neighbour. And you know, these are all people that I love. I love, you know, dearly, clients or the neighbours or whatever. But
yeah.
they like to have a chat, and I am a busy woman, and I can't be rude. And my partner sometimes will be sitting in the car, and I can feel him just like, will you stop talking?
It is
It's
hard
not
though if you're
a pet
building
peeve,
those
but
connections. It's
yeah,
quite
because I
hard,
think
isn't
it's
it?
rapport, it's part of it. You know, and it's so important. But at the same time, if I have a key and I just let myself in and that dog jumps in my car, we're done so much quicker. But more in terms of the business side of things rather than that, because that's not a pet peeve really. I love them. Um, I think it's the I don't know, I think the misillusion for people that have maybe never done this, and then they, and they go, oh, are you sure you want to be self-employed? Oh, I could do that. Oh, I like having my set paycheck coming in. I like having my pension, blah, 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 blah. And then they'll give you advice and say, oh, well, you can put that through on your expenses. You can put that through. And especially if you're just starting off and you're new, that's not really the things that you need to hear. Yes, I know that they're just trying to be truthful, but at the same time, they're giving you mixed advice. And so for me, I realise now that actually I probably was a bit too willy-nilly with these expenses. Everybody was telling me, oh, you can just put that through, you can just put that through.
Yeah.
And then actually that actually drastically changed the profit that was made at the end of the year. Although we were up anyway on the gross, so that was good. I think it's quite like a 33% increase, but I should have seen more of an increase in the profit, and actually I saw less. So it's just but there is a lot of information out there, but I suppose it can just be mind-boggling, I think, sometimes.
A bit overwhelming at times, I guess.
Yeah, and I know your family, friends and all that, they will mean good, but it's, and the government has its website and they tell you what you can and can't do and stuff like that, but again, it's just there's so many, it's just not written clearly enough, I think, sometimes. Just needs terms, like what you'd get on Martin Lewis's website, where they just kind of put it in really simple writing for everybody. I think that kind of thing is a piece that gets me, there should be something really simple for you to read and understand before you make this decision to go self-employed and what it all means.
Exactly, because like you said, like not everybody has a background in business when they're starting their own business, so it would be helpful to know these things.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, you mentioned like the hair care businesses and stuff like that, but are there any other businesses that inspire you, like smaller ones? Or they can be bigger ones if you like as well. Doesn't matter.
Not really. What inspires me more, I think, is just when I come across businesses where they're doing it. They're doing what they love and they're making it work, and they're, I don't know what maybe like some of the profiles and that the girls that I follow on Insta, but they probably tend to be in like a more of a exercise or like weightlifting or digital marketing sort of background, and and they just share their stories and they show you where they were and where they are now, and it's stuff like that I think inspires me just to keep going.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it will, things will work out, but it takes a bit of time, doesn't it? But yeah, no, not really any big businesses, because I just think quite a lot of them, like Pets at Home and stuff like that, I haven't really got much time for them.
Yeah, it's very impersonal though. You don't really feel like they care about your dog. They just it's just like a blanket service, isn't it?
They're making so much money, they've got to obviously reach a level of care, but they're making so much money that it just, but then fair play to them, because that's what you would want to do. You wouldn't want to make a business and then not make loads of money. So
speaking of money, so are you concerned about like the cost of living crisis at all? Have you had to change how you do things at all?
Yeah, we've definitely, I mean, yes, from a personal point of view, we've cancelled a few subscriptions. We're being a bit more conscious with electrics, or I am anyway, with electric switches and stuff like that. And then from the business point of view, obviously doing the tax return from last year and realising, okay, yeah, you probably was a bit too fruity with your spending. So, I've cut down on a few platforms and things that I might have been using and paying for, and I'm just either using the free versions or I'm doing it some other way where it doesn't have to cost me. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely affected things, but it's not. For me, it's manageable. It's manageable. Yeah, we haven't got so many overheads that we're drowning. So it's manageable.
Awesome. And then finally, if you could go back to the start of your business setup, Jane, I think you kind of answered this a little bit before, but would you change anything else? Is there anything else you wanted to change about that?
Yeah, I would just try to bank up as much money as I possibly could before I started, and then not be so overzealous. I don't know if that's the right word, but with just you just think, oh well, that's a good idea, and that's a good idea, and that's a good idea. grabbing onto all of these ideas, which is just the kind of person I am. But then actually, some of them ideas weren't the best idea. And if we hadn't have taken that now, we wouldn't be in that situation. But if we hadn't have done that, then we wouldn't be here. So it's, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But yeah, I would just go, but I would just go back and I would just have a bit more money in the bank as a float to have it there, and just be a bit more cautious with what I'm doing. But there was a point in time when the business was making a lot of money, and I thought, this is great because I've never made this much amount of money before.
Yeah.
But then that can all very quickly change, as it did, because I had a horse accident and I was out of action for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then I've had to make lifestyle changes and business changes as well based around that. So it's all quickly how quickly things can change around.